Good morning, everybody. I hope you're all doing well. Mr. Aram came back with the second lesson of the Global English book, and today we're going to discuss a variety of topics. So, it's better to bring your books and start following up with me. It is always better to know what we're going to start with. So, we're going to have our objectives for now. The first thing that we're going to have is the explanation of the present perfect, active, and passive. And after that, we're going to deal with the food chain and introduce some vocabs related to that. After that, we're going to have a quick revision for the end marks. Then we will move on to the types of the sentences. And finally, we will have the necessary punctuation marks in English. So, the first thing that we're going to start with is the present perfect tense. What's the present perfect tense and why do we use it in the first place? That would be a logical question to think about. So, the present perfect tense is formed by containing have or has in addition to the past participle of the verb. And the formula would be have or has plus past participle. And the other question would be, why do we even use it? The answer would be, we use it for things that happen in the past and continue until now. An example for that is, I have worked here for a very long time. So the speaker here is indicating that he worked in this place for a very long time, started in the past and still until now. He didn't leave the job. So it's always better to think about have, has, and had when you think of the perfect tenses. But since here we refer to the present perfect, it's only have and has. Now, all what we talked about was about active sentences. Now we're going to take the other step and see how to change it to passive present perfect. That will be the same as we did yesterday with the last video, which we used the four steps that we had. Here we would have only one difference, which lies in the third step. This difference will be very important to remember. So, if we start with the first step, it would be that we should delete the subject. Then we would move to the second one, which is to bring the object to the beginning of the sentence, and follow it with the third and different step here. We said that we should bring the auxiliary verb that should be suitable. So the choice would be one of two, either has or have. And the other different thing is to have the word been. Been is the magical word for this tense. So the fourth point will be to change the verb to past participle. When we get more examples, you will get to know it in a better way. So the first example would be, we have taken the car from the garage. So we should know where is the subject, where is the verb, where is the object. All these things will be important to us. So the subject would be the pronoun we, the object would be the car, and the verb is already obvious with taken. After that, we would have the prepositional phrase. So as we said before, we would never care about the prepositional phrase. It will be the same by the end of the sentence. So the solution for this sentence would be, the car has been taken from the garage by us. This is an optional thing as we said, but let's focus on the important thing here is the word been. We brought the car, which is the object, and we had the verb for it, the helping verb, the auxiliary verb is has. Why has? Because car is singular. If the word was cars, of course it would have been the cars have been, but here because car is singular, we had has. After that, we brought the magical word been, the key word if you want to name it, and we continued the sentence with the verb. It's already past participle, taken, and we got the prepositional phrase as it is, from the garage, by us. Another example would be, the doctor has collected his tools. So this is an active sentence. We would need to change it to passive. So You can stop the video and start solving this sentence, and after that, I would give you the right solution. Of course, the right solution would be tools have been collected by the doctor. I know that some of you put his tools, and it's not wrong at all, but it would be more logical to start it with tools and then indicated by the doctor. So we brought tools, which is plural, and of course the auxiliary verb for plural would be have, not has, and we brought our keyword been and the verb which is in past participle, collected. Now, my dear students, let's open the books on page 65 and start doing exercise number 5. Exercise number 5 is giving some sentences with a verb given in the end. You should make this verb in the passive form. Of course, we would need to add a helping verb or an auxiliary verb before we start with that. So, if we start with the first one, which is already solved, all Richard's inventions have been made from simple things and old appliances. The verb given was make. This one is already solved. Number 2, I hope that you would stop the video and start doing this sentence now. So the sentence says, Richard dash to speak about his invention at a conference in California. The verb is invite. Of course, it's not logical to say Richard invites to speak. He wouldn't invite anybody. He's the one that's invited. So we would say Richard has been invited to speak about his invention at the conference in California. So that's the solution for the second one. The third one in this case would be he dash a place at a top high school in Kenya. So we have the verb give. So we would say he has been given. The fourth one in this case would be the lion lights dash by environmentalists because they are powered by solar energy and they protect wildlife. The verb is welcome. So the answer would be have been welcomed. Number 5 would be the lives of both of the farm animals and the lions dash thanks to Richard's invention. So the verb here is save. So we would say the lives of both the farm animals and the lions have been saved thanks to Richard's invention. Number 6 would be crops dash from elephants by Richard's lion lights. So we cannot say crops protect because crops cannot protect themselves. So we would say crops have been protected from elephants by Richard's lion lights. I hope that you saw the difference between using has and have. As we said, has is used for singular and have is used for plural. Now we're going to move on to a different topic. It's about the food chain. So we would notice that we have many vocabulary here, many definitions that we would take, and they're very important. First, we're going to read them in page 66, and after that, we're going to see how did we classify them on this pyramid. So to start with the first one, it's the word predator. What's a predator? It's an animal that kills and eats other animals. After that, we have prey. What's a prey? An animal that is hunted and eaten by another animal. The third one is herbivore, an animal that only eats plants. Carnivore, it's something known by you guys, which is an animal that eats other animals. The other thing is, or the other vocabulary is producer. What's a producer? It's in the food chain, a plant that makes its own food by photosynthesis. And the last thing would be a consumer. What's a consumer? An animal that eats a plant or another animal. As a result of the vocabulary that we had, we would see that we had many pictures of animals on this pyramid. So we would have the first one, a lion. What do you think a lion is? A lion eats other animals and it doesn't eat plant, so it would be a predator and a carnivore at the same time. it's a consumer. If you notice that it eats other thing, it doesn't happen from the photosynthesis. The other step would be the prey. What kinds are the prey here? Of course, they would be the goat, the sheep, the zebra. All these would be prey. And of course, at the same time, they eat plant, so they are herbivore. And they are consumer. We would notice that consumer are in both of these types of animals because they all eat other things. And the last thing, of course, would be the producer. What kinds would be the producer? All this grass and trees. Why? Because simply they get the photosynthesis process to have their food. Students that are interested in figurative language should always remember that we could use such words such predator and prey in things in literature. We can use them as metaphors. After that, we're going to continue with a whole different topic. This thing is about end marks. What are end marks? I only wanted to discuss this topic because I saw or I noticed that my students sometimes mix up. They ask a question and they end it with a full stop or a period as mentioned here. Sometimes they express their feelings and put full stop or period. So that's a wrong thing and we will try to correct it right now. So first we need to know that the end marks are only three. Period, or as we call it in British English as full stop. After that, we have the question mark and the exclamation mark. Well, how do you use each one and how do you know the type of sentence that we're talking about? That's a pretty simple thing. And we will start with the types of sentences to find why do we use each mark. So, the first one is declarative sentence. A declarative sentence is simply when you say something, you say a statement. So, it ends with full stop. So you say, I went to school. It's not a question. You're not doing anything here. You're just giving a statement. You're saying something. After that, we would have the interrogative sentence. In interrogative sentences, you ask a question. What's your name? What are you doing? Where are you going? All of these are questions and they end with a question mark. After that, we would have the exclamatory sentence, which obviously ends with exclamation mark. When do we use it? When we express our feelings. After that, we would have the last type, which is imperative sentence. In imperative sentences, you give orders to people. You order them to do something. You give commands. So you say, close the window, pray now, do whatever. Okay? It all starts with a verb. Imperative sentences usually end with a period, with full stop. But sometimes when you're angry and you order somebody to do something, you will use the full stop, the exclamation mark. To make sure that we understood these types of end marks, we would have this small test, and I was kind enough to give you the answers already. So let's start reading them and try to do them at the same time. So the first one would be, Tom had an extra helping of ice cream. Of course, you cannot finish a sentence without end mark. So let's see how would we do it. Tom had an extra helping of ice cream. So this would be a full stop. After that, you would have, is there anything I can do to help? So obviously here you're asking something. So the end mark for this one would be question mark. Number three would be, what are you going to do with that? It's a question again, obviously, because you're waiting for an answer. Number four, what you did was a complete waste of time. Okay, here you can have both the full stop and the exclamation mark. Why? It depends on the way you say it. If you say it as what you did was a complete waste of time, you would put full stop. But if you are like really angry expressing your feeling, what you did was a complete waste of time. So that would be exclamation mark. Number five, there's enough for everyone. Isn't there? Of course, when we have tag questions like this one, isn't there? You finish the first one, there is enough for everyone with full stop. And after that, isn't there? You would put the question mark here. Remember here that we had something missing, which was an isn't. Isn't is a contraction. In the first sentence, he didn't put the apostrophe. while in the other one, in the solution, he didn't forget about that. In number 6, the speaker is drowning. So, help, I'm drowning. Of course, when that happens, you don't say help, I'm drowning, and you finish it with a full stop. Of course, the end of this one should be exclamation mark because she's scared or he's scared. You have the choice to stop the video and go back to that test and try to do the other sentences yourself. All the sentences sometimes get two answers. Remember, it always depends on the way that the speaker is saying it. So now we would have another thing, another important thing. We would have them in general today, which are punctuation marks, and after that we would take them in details because these are extremely important in your writing. So to start with the basic one, which is the full stop, when do we use the full stop? As we said before, we use it when we finish a statement, a sentence. The second one is a question mark. Okay, when do we use question mark? Of course, when we ask a question. The third one is comma. Most people make mistakes in using commas. So when do we use commas? I think that this subject needs a day itself. So we would have this one in details in the coming days. But to say it basically, it's used to denote a pause in a sentence. You stop for a while and then you continue. The fourth one is exclamation mark. And we talked about exclamation mark before. You express your feelings in it. Number 5 would be quotation marks, or as some people call it, speech marks. When do we use it? Of course, when we say something. When somebody is saying something in the sentence, you start this, quotation marks. After that, you have a colon. What's a colon? It's used to indicate what is to follow next. After that, you would have the semicolon, which is a very easy thing to use. You would just use the semicolon without any other connector. So it's used to link two independent clauses. Number 8 would be apostrophe. And we explained apostrophe many times. Apostrophe is used to show two things, possession and contraction. After that, we would have the hyphen. Hyphen is used to glue words together. That was dealt with when we talked about the compound adjectives. The last three are less common than the others. For example, you have the slash. When do we use the slash? We use it to separate letters, numbers, or words. Before the last, we have ellipsis mark. It's used to separate items in a series. And the last one would be the round brackets. We use this one when we want to add extra information in the sentence. So that was a general look on the most important punctuation marks. And as I said, we would continue in details with some of these. Getting to the final step in our lesson today, I hope that you did your homework, which was page 47, the last video, and this time you would have another one, which would be page 49. I hope that you would do your homeworks because they would be extremely important for you in understanding the lessons. So, thank you so much for your watching, and I hope that you got used of this type of videos. Thank you so much for watching.